Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Jake Clendenning. I am an executive coach with MAPS Business Coaching, and I'm also very fortunate to be a Cyberbacker franchise operator for Colorado, Wyoming, and Alaska. Joined with a good chunk of my growth team as well as our launch team. And today we're really excited to have a conversation with Craig Goodliffe. Craig, I have known through several different aspects of our world, right? Through real estate, when you had a team, as a MAPS coach. Also, he does this little thing called Cyberbacker. You might notice that background everywhere. He's got a lot to do with that. There's a lot of cool things going on in Craig's world. And we just want to talk to him today about that massively leveraged life, from the how big can you build it, how many people's lives can you affect, and how many lives can those people affect, right? That whole pyramid of 6 people creates 130,000. So it's really that conversation today. We're super happy to have Craig, and we're going to kind of wing this today and go through some really fun questions. Craig, tell us something we don't know about you.
That's a great question. I'm a massive quitter. And when I say quitter, I don't mean smoking. I mean, I quit doing things I either don't enjoy doing or that I've learned that I'm not the best at. And what that means is there's some stuff that I might enjoy doing it, but I know I'm not the best at it. So, I might go ahead and dabble in it, but there's very little things that I will think of myself as being one of the best at. I don't like going ahead and just answering my phone. I know that there's some people who's probably, they're with me. And yet in real estate, when you're in that business and someone calls you, someone's paying you money to put your phone number on the sign out in front of their house. And I'm amazed how many real estate professionals refuse to answer the phone. And when I looked at what's that job worth, this is back a while ago and I know it's different places, but I figured I could hire someone at minimum wage to just answer the phone. And that's a fair trade. That's what that job's worth. And when I say I'm a massive quitter, that was one of my favorite things to quit doing, was answering my phone, because I didn't like saying the same things over and over again. Yet I know it's important to have continuity when someone calls in. A lot of times when you hear people, it's a great day at our real estate office, and that's a wonderful greeting. I also, one of the things about answering my phone is I didn't like to go ahead and have to collect that person's information when it was a buyer or a seller lead and actually remember to put it in a database or CRM. And this is just me. Other people are great at this, but I had this thing that would happen to me, Jake, if we're being totally honest, where someone would call me and they'd call on a sign and say, yeah, I'm interested in that house. And oh, by the way, I have a home sale. And I would say, fantastic. And I would be like driving or somewhere else. And I'm half checked in, half checked out. And I says, let's do this. I'm going to call you later. And it would usually be that time when you're laying in bed that you remembered you didn't call them back, at least me anyway. And I would go ahead and I'm like, okay, well, it's 11 o'clock. I can't call them back right now. And I would have this anxiety build up. And the next morning, because the anxiety happened the night before, I would do it, what a lot of entrepreneurs do, and I wouldn't call them that day either, because you're kind of embarrassed.
Because now you're scared. Yeah.
You're scared. You're scared. You're nervous. And then, do I put them on a drip campaign? I forgot to call them. They had to sell their house and they want to buy another one. And I'm worried and I'm scared and I don't want to do that. So what I learned is I'm not the best person to answer the phone, because I'm probably not going to do it. I'm probably not going to say a consistent thing if I do it. I'm probably not going to go ahead and capture their information and put them into my database, because I'm going to lie to myself and trick myself into believing things that are absolutely not true. I probably won't start a touch plan like an 8x8 or 10 days of pain or whatever you choose to do. And so when I found out those things about myself and I uncovered that I could hire someone else who was better at it than me, who weren't going to lie to themselves the way I lied to myself and trick themselves. The impressive thing, Jake, and this is like a very small statement, but it was big for me, was I was able to sleep better at night because I didn't go to bed thinking about all the things I didn't do. And I was able to feel like I was more integrity with myself because I had someone better at answering the phone and better at starting that process. And that's one thing that when I gave up, that's a small thing. I actually was able to answer a question, which a lot of people, they don't know the difference between a contact, an appointment, and a lead, which a lead lives somewhere in the middle. That's someone I'm going to invest time and money in converting to an appointment. I couldn't tell you how many leads I generated. I had no idea. I didn't know it's an important thing. If you've read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, on page 109, first goal category of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent is lead generation. And on page 110, it said the most important number you can know about your business is leads, not appointments, not contacts. Mm-hmm. And I lived in this entrepreneur chaos of not knowing how many leads I had. And once I was able to uncover that, and someone else is able to track it, life changed.
Yeah, and it does. It massively changes, right? And it's really an acceptance of us letting go of something we actually know we're not doing well, right? We're not doing it very well at all. And it's not that it's a disservice to us, it's a disservice to our clients. When it comes right down to it, you had made that point, because if we're scared to call them, we now know we let them down. We totally feel that. I was fortunate enough to be, and Cody Gibson, I was at Career Visioning the last 2 days with him in Denver. It was a great class and a great reminder. And I've taken that class, I couldn't tell you how many times, because I don't have anybody tracking that in my database for me. I should, because it takes that. I've taken that class a bunch of times, and I heard something really interesting that Gary Keller's been talking a lot about. You guys have heard that name before. Client experience, right? What's the client experience on that side? For me, it made all the difference in my business when I chose to leverage the exact same way. And it came from, I chose to leverage because I wasn't doing things right, is when I chose to do it. What happened was, all of a sudden, the client experience went way up on my client side, and my business all of a sudden went with it. So from a client experience standpoint, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I get nervous about doing that because I had to hire myself a babysitter. And if we were going to be honest about, originally we were going to call Cyberbacker virtual babysitters, because that was all I did. I hired someone to babysit.
Yeah, I remember it. I remember that joke.
Yeah, I found my personal efficiency happening when someone else said, who is a lot more organized than I am, saying, here's what you have to do today. And here's an email. It's one page, because the best way to get on the same page is by having a page. And they said, here's everything you have to do today. And by the way, here's your schedule. And we're just going to go through and you're going to check off these boxes. And what happens is I was able to provide a better consumer experience because I had a promise keeper. I had someone who's constantly with me in my ear. Sometimes they were on a pair of smart glasses. They're in my ear with a Bluetooth headset. They were there documenting what I said, the promises I was making, and making sure that I was committed to following up. And what happens is the people around you just feel that you are extremely reliable, even if you're asking for a lot of help.
Yeah, and that's the fairness, right? It's okay to ask for help, right? And we take that on ourselves.
Oh yeah, Jake, here's the thing. We are inundated just right now. If I look at being a small business owner back in the 80s styles, like back in, so we can go there, I guess, right now. But the methods of communication I had were phone, because we did that, the corded thing that was attached to your house or your office, because you had to go to one or the other. And we had mail. And now they went ahead, they disrupted us with this whole thing called the fax machine, which we don't even use today. And now you look at several different methods from the 1980s to today that I can communicate with somebody. And you have to be on all these. Like there's a WhatsApp, there's a Viber, there's a TikTok, there's a Facebook, there's an Instagram, there's a LinkedIn, there's an email, there's a text message. There is a new communication platform that is developing quicker than I think we can adopt. And what happens is your consumers, they adopt, and that's their preferred method of engagement. I got an email today from Parler. What the heck is Parler? Well, it's a social media platform that some of your clients might be on. And you just look at the time it takes to communicate with people on those several different methods today. And the level of just basic human communication has changed so dramatically. Which means Yeah, 100% from a human level, and you made that point. Is that's what we want, right? When I'm thinking of a client communication or a client experience, when I go and I purchase something, I want a widget, I want whatever it is, I'm in it for the experience, not just I want the thing. So that's really what we're creating with this. So when we're talking about this client experience, right? And yes, it looks like it's behind the smart glasses. It looks, we're the face of it. That's true to an extent. There are also other roles within Cyberbacker, within this, that are actually creating such an amazing client experience. What are some of those other roles that are out there that people just may not be aware of? Oh, buddy, I'm going to go ahead and just out myself right now. And this is going to be a very horrible thing. So we're all just going to keep a secret here. I noticed that people on Facebook were having wonderful life things happen to them, like birthdays, they got jobs, they were celebrating getting a new car, stuff like that. And I think those things are important. And when I was talking to people, I was completely stepping over and ignoring those things. And what I learned is, because I'm not dialed into that, and me personally, I do not love polluting my mind with what's on social media. And that's just my words. You might love it. Hey, good for you. What I found though, is I can have someone who's sitting on another computer right here, spending a day with me, documenting when I say something smart, taking it down, and they can go ahead and say, you know what, we're going to put this as a post, something that you want to share with the rest of the world because this is the way you're choosing to express yourself. And oh, by the way, we're going to pay attention to your database, and we're going to pay attention to things going on in their life. So we can go ahead, we can acknowledge them, we can honor them. I'm going to tell you what, it's an amazing thing when someone's helping you with your social media feed. Someone gets a job transfer and you can call them the next day because it's on your call list, just saying congratulations. And I want to tell you that personally. It's an amazing thing to go ahead and honor someone who just had a baby. It's an amazing, simple thing to just call someone and say happy birthday. And when you're just calling out of the blue, for me, I always felt it was intrusive just to call people like, hey, I'm looking for a deal. And it felt a lot more natural when I was calling and saying happy birthday and just how are you as a human being and making that connection before I ever asked him for anything.
Yeah.
So,
and you make a great point there, right? Facebook as a database. You make a great point with that. And it's not a matter of, I just turned it over to somebody to use it and they went in there and they did their thing, right? They went in, they created a call list specifically around birthdays, babies, new jobs, handed you that list in the morning and said, Craig, you're going to make these phone calls today. These are the life events that happened for them today, and congratulate them on it. You're still connecting with them on that human experience. You just have somebody that is keeping you organized and aware of the human experience and using Facebook as a database. It's genius. And it's so simple. We should all be doing it, right?
Well, it's networking, not net playing and net saying inappropriate things. And it's not, I mean, people go ahead, they want to put their life in this digital world. And it's kind of like oil, which if you found oil, congratulations, good for you. But there's the process of refining oil. Oil is no good to you if you cannot refine it. And information on Facebook that you do not have the time nor ability to refine is worthless. Yet having someone else who can go ahead and refine that for you, that's what it takes. And it's not a hard task. It's a simple task. And it's important. And people miss that. And it's, well, I'll do it myself. I'll do it myself. I'll do it myself. You can't do it yourself in today's world. It's not because you're not capable. I believe people are capable. We're just at the point where there's just too much, and it's not slowing down. I don't see Facebook getting less users. I don't. Right. And I don't see we're going to stop at how many social media platforms we've created because we have enough. I think it's going to continue. Amazon has one. And what the heck? Spark? I want to go get on Spark. But that's the world we're in today. And if you're not connected in those platforms, someone else is going to be, unfortunately.
Right. And that's the truth in all industries, right? Not just real estate, insurance, accounting, take your pick in every industry. Anybody that is in, let's be honest, right? If you're in a service industry, you're sales. You do sales. If you're in service industry, that's what you're doing. You have a database to manage, which means likely you're probably not managing it to the best of your ability unless you have somebody doing it to the best of their ability. You know, we know that that's generally true. So what's another fun, I hesitate to use the word fun role.
No.
Right?
Use the fun word. Let's use the F word today. We're going to use the fun
We'll use the F word today. We'll use it a bunch.
Well, and here's something that's kind of an interesting thing. I went ahead and I bought a wedding venue. Why? Because I'm crazy. No, but I wanted to buy my office building, and the building that was next to it, the person wanted to sell us a package deal, and it's a wedding venue. And I went ahead, and as I'm going through and thinking through this process, I thought, what could actually be done virtually for a wedding venue? Like that, I don't know about that. So I played with it, and I started playing with the different components. I started playing with the social media. I started playing with reviews. I started playing with building a database. I started just experimenting with this. We closed in November and officially took over the business in the first part of January. Right now, just for bookings right now, we're more than double. Their engagement all of last year was about 3,000 engagements through social media. We're well over 3 million in the first quarter. And it's because taking people and just saying, okay, your only job is creating content. Here's our library of content. You're going to put it out there on social media. You're going to go ahead and get a message. And oh, by the way, someone else is going to build a website. And oh, by the way, someone else is going to answer the phone when someone calls in. And oh, by the way, we're going to provide a better experience for people because we're going to track each step along the process. because we kind of played with, if I'm getting married, what do I want the experience to be like? And we just worked it backwards. And it's amazing to see that even in a business that, because I'm going to say what, when you talk about relationships, Jake, we talk about the service industry, a lot of it is weddings too. Weddings are that industry. People get married in a place because they like the location, they have a relationship with people in the area.
Totally right.
It's amazing what we've seen that do.
Yeah. So I heard something really interesting there, that I can't not bite it as a coach. I can't. Like the bait is too big. It's a big cheeseburger. I got to bite it. So let me see if I unpack this right. A business model in a different business that worked applied to a brand new business that we didn't play in is proving revenue. Go figure. If we apply a model and proven model and system to something, it works in all businesses. I thought I couldn't not point it out, right? I couldn't. Yeah. It was like, yep.
You take the lead generation model. We identify the different places we're going to lead generate on social media. We're going to have emails. We built this database thing based on what we had on social media, if we're being honest. We needed, because people go ahead when they're shopping, we needed to have a follow-up campaign. We needed to have a strategy. Here's what happens through text message, through social media interaction, through, I don't like saying this, but I'll say anyway, it's live broadcasting. You know, that's one of my favorites right now, that it goes straight to their voicemail and it can be done by someone anywhere in the world. And really, Jake, if it doesn't require a physical presence, and we're playing with telepresence robots, so we might fix that challenge. But if it does not require a physical presence and it does not require a license, technically it can be done from someone who's anywhere in the world.
Yep.
And COVID kind of just shook our world and opened that up for us. It was a wonderful gift in that way. It's also very dangerous for other business people, because if you did not have a strong virtual presence, I mean, the wedding venue we bought, they had a bad year because, I don't know if you know this, but when things were locked down, they weren't letting them come in and get married. So
yeah, right. And it did. And there was some very interesting fruit from that pandemic that came from that seed. And this is one of them. Is a lot of businesses figured out it's more efficient for me to run it remotely, less coffee pot issues, less water cooler things. All of a sudden, I don't have to hold a physical space for a person to be there. And what we also found out is quality of candidates, right? Of where we can get great candidates, because as we know here, and we can call it, I'm not going to get all, socioeconomic around it, but the Great Resignation. We talked about that to where a lot of people just said, I'm not going back to work. I'm just not going to do it. And yet there are a lot of people that are incredibly skilled, are way better at stuff than I am. And I say this all the time because my assistant is on here today. I don't even like calling her my assistant. My partner is on here today. And she is constantly one-upping our game to where, and that's why we brought her on, because she's pushing me. So what we found from a quality of candidate is we can pull that from other places, and it's just such high quality. So we've got some like crazy numbers from last year and I talked about this yesterday. So hit me with the total number of candidates, applications to hires. Do you remember that number? Those.
Yeah, so our per week average currently, we get on average 12,000 applicants per week on average. And you look at how people ask, how do you do that? Like today, we just approved 4 billboards. Yes, they're in the Philippines, because if you've ever been there, the traffic is madness, and people will look for opportunities where they do not have to fight traffic and spend a couple hours in a commute every day. I mean, 4 hours of your life gone in traffic on a daily basis is crazy. 12,000 applicants per week is our average, 3,500 interviews per week. Unfortunately, we'll hire less than 100 people through that process.
Right.
And it's because when you're, and I'm going to use the Cyberbacker, we're still a small company. And while we're a small company, I mean, we've only got, just shy of 3,000 Cyberbackers here. We can only really hire people we can bet the company on. Do some people sneak through? Yeah, just like one of the challenges that you're going to have is people magically asked for help on about everything they did. Now, when it came time to do their job, they stopped asking for help, and they were the wrong fit. Because really, anyone, I don't care who you hire, it's a 90-day probationary hiring period. And if you don't hire someone great, we have an obligation to replace them. Let them find success somewhere else. But we'll go ahead and hire less than 100 people. out of 12,000 applicants on a weekly basis.
Right, which again speaks to quality of candidate. It's not just warm body. That's absolutely not the direction. It is high quality, best candidate for the possible role for the clients that we're bringing in, because we're bringing in, let's be honest, some really big gun industry people, some people that are running high level businesses. They need high level people. And we have the ability to do that through this massive hiring process that oddly follows that class career visioning of how it goes through that. So it's in alignment with a lot of things we've already built. Go figure, models and systems. We can talk about that one again. So yeah, but it works. We know that it's working that way. And that's the fun part, is when people are getting this talent, if they want to interview 5 people for that particular role, well, the reality is we've already probably interviewed 5,000 to get down to those, 50 people to make them down to 5. So it's not just, here's the 5 people off the street corner we found today for you to interview. They've already gone through a process. And that's the great part. Talk to me a little bit about, and I know we're commercialing a little bit, but we want to talk a little bit about, what's going on cool in your life, but what's the back end training, right? Most people just don't realize. They think I'm going to hire this person and now I'm responsible for them, all the time. So
yeah, that's a great question. And let's just go ahead and look at, when we were building this thing, I looked at me as a business owner and I started looking at my costs, things like that. I like to be able to budget. And one of the things that's just kind of the bane of my existence is when someone that I absolutely love, that is talent, that is a wonderful, fantastic human being, comes and they say, I have to make more money or I'm leaving. And unfortunately that happens. And at Cyberbacker, yes, we start out with, here's market rate. This is what's going to cost you to hire that role. And if you want to pay them more, congratulations, good. However, if I went ahead and let that always be the case, we're going to have people constantly maybe having that conversation. So we had to build in a platform where eventually the Cyberbacker could make more money than what the client was paying. And so we have a profit share component, which just, it's tied to our biggest problem, which is finding talent. They help us find talent. They have a profit share component in there for them, which is really great. But they also have this component called the head backer. What the head backer does is they're going to take 5 people at a time, because you really can't effectively lead and help 5 people, more than 5 people at a time. And they're going to go ahead and meet with them before they come into work, after they come into work, and they're going to make sure that they're helping them perform in their job. They're helping them go through, and they're saying, take these classes. They're setting them up for competency. We have right now, we keep on average about 20% of our company is head backers on average. We're a little understaffed right now. We have, I think, our numbers just closer to the 300 mark when it needs to be closer to the 500 mark, but that's okay. We're still working on that. We have some full-time people. This is all they do till we get caught up. However, there's a residual that for them staying, training that person, keeping them engaged, being their listening ear. When there's directives that change because the client says something else, they make sure that they're helping them with that, holding them accountable, kind of like a coach. It actually does pretty well. We also make sure that they teach 2 classes a month, which if you take right now, we're going to estimate a little bit low because some people are getting acclimated. 250 people times 2 classes a month is 500 classes. Plus we have well over 5,000 reported hours of training on top of it. So we have accountability, we have massive training. And some of the stuff that has been a beautiful, wonderful thing is some of these industry players, especially a lot of these CRMs and stuff like that, they have the videos and the training that we're able to go ahead and utilize for our library. And some of the Cyberbackers, to make it a little bit more efficient, they've recorded in their native language to help people understand it at an even higher level. So you can go ahead, hire someone that's great, and then say, you know what, I'm going to change CRMs. And chances are that Cyberbacker can be trained faster than you could or your team, and they're ready to go. Plus, one of the other wonderful things about our company that we did is we implemented a mastermind system where every Friday we get together for 30 minutes and they're going to go ahead and mastermind. They're going to come and say, okay, I'm already trained on this. How do I do it at a better level? And we're hearing feedback from clients that they're saying some of the best ideas I've had have come from my Cyberbacker. Some of the biggest changes that have helped my business have come from my Cyberbacker. And it's because of the communication, the networking, and the masterminding that's happening. So it's a lot of,
we don't exist in a vacuum.
Yeah,
we don't exist in a vacuum. We don't exist in a bubble. Everybody, and this is one of the things I love that I didn't realize was a thing is the collaborative component around everything, to where if there's something my Cyberbacker, because I've never given anybody a task that I didn't describe perfectly, and it was absolutely structured brilliantly and was perfect, right? So I could hand this thing over, and not have a clue how we're going to implement on it. I'm a vision guy, let's be honest. I'll hand it over and go, how do we figure this out? And they can reach out to like 3,000 other cyberbackers. Who has touched this before? What did you do? What worked? How can we make it run better? And we get the answers quickly. That collaborative component across our entire network is so cool. That's one of my favorite parts of it.
Oh yeah, it's that right there. It's been a life changer, game changer. And the goal is to go ahead and for the cyberbacker to bring more value than you would ever possibly pay. And we're seeing it happen time and time again. So it's great training. It's really exciting. There's very few things. In fact, we're constantly running contests where if you can bring us something that we've never seen before, a job we've never performed, we haven't even thought about it, that we've said, okay, we'll go ahead and cover your cyberbacker for a year. And we've done this a few times. We'll only do it to what we can actually scale and handle at different points based on the demand on talent. But we have yet to have someone actually bring us a job description that no one in our company's ever done.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you spoke about this at Family Reunion, Keller Williams Family Reunion, to, what was there, 12,000 people in Orlando this year that we talked to, plus the online people. And I know the contest is still running. So we're talking like tens of thousands of people have not been able to come up with a job description that can't be done or hasn't been thought of and done remotely so far. I think it's just really entertaining, right? And it just speaks to the depth of the company.
Yeah, we went ahead last week and we were at Inman, virtually and in person, where Inman, the entire real estate industry, put the same challenge out to them. We were at Nashville because MAPS Coaching had their masterminds. We put the challenge out to them. And right now, people are having a hard time bringing us something we haven't seen before. And we look for that because if we have, we can develop it. So we're welcoming, we're honoring, we're excited about that challenge. But it also shows, unfortunately, there's not a lot that we haven't done. There's not a lot that's unique right now. So we're looking for uniqueness, by the way. We are hunting, because if we don't hunt innovation, then we're going to go ahead and be disrupted.
And we hear Gary Keller say that all the time, right? Don't get disrupted, be the disruptor, be the person that's going to lead that. If we can break it, that means we can probably reverse engineer it and fix it, which is cool. So I love those challenges. They're some of my favorite things. It's what drives me as being a coach, is in some of those challenges. So let's jump a little bit. Tell me something that like is really cool happening in your world that's just driving you, that's just fun.
There's a lot right now. Let's tie it to leverage just a little bit because I want to stay on topic.
All right.
There's a lot of things that we have fun with. I don't know if any entrepreneurs out there thought, I have some good ideas, I should write a book. Like, have you ever played with that idea yourself?
Yeah.
I went ahead, one of my favorite things that we explored and implemented for a little bit was I hired someone to go ahead and just record conversations with me and start writing down and put it actually into a format that could actually be a usable book, more like a manual for how the heck do you leverage an extremely high level. And we went ahead and we played with that. We're still playing with that. Are we actually going to release a book? I don't know, because the premise that I took for this is if I were going to train my son, who when he gets from school, I don't know about you, but they didn't teach me how to leverage when I was in school. I mean,
that was a long rod and a rock. That was all I knew.
Yeah. I went to school for computer science. So if we're going to be fair, it was like high school and that. No one talked to me about leverage. No one talked to me about investing in people. No one talked to me about developing talent. No one talked about those things. So I thought, at some point, my son, hopefully he'll say, I want to make a difference in the world. I want to learn to invest in other people. And I just said, well, what would the operations manual be for that? And I've looked at a lot of different great books that I'm happy to just share with people. But for him, being wired like a younger version of me, and he's 6 right now, so I got some time to get something out there. But being able to create that with a wonderful cyberbacker, that's something that gives me fulfillment. And if other people can use it, that's cool. But when you're taking the premise of I'm writing this for my son, I want him to go ahead and have the wonderful opportunity to grow himself and help other people grow. How do you do that? That's been a lot of fun. That's been pretty incredible.
That's cool, man. And we think about it the same, right? It's really ghostwriting, right? We've heard that term before. And the reason I use that term is you and I are very fortunate In the people that we're aligned with, we speak a slightly different language. Our vernacular, if you will, our vocabulary now, it wasn't in high school, very different. Our vernacular now is words like leverage, things like, we have conversations around different words to where a lot of people in our industry, just in the real estate industry, coaching industry, any of the industries, they're almost foreign words to them. They don't use that language. So one of the words you used here a second ago was investing in your people. Like, I never heard this through construction industry, whole separate life, working in other real estate peoples. The concept of investing in your people, return on investment, much like from a stock market perspective, we used to think the word invest simply just meant give some stockbroker a bunch of money and hopefully they're going to make me some money and I'll have some of that when I go get ready to die someday, right? That was my term for investment. Talk to me a little bit about what it means for you, investing in people.
Well, and I'm going to use the real nasty term and then we'll kind of go to a happier level. But right now, people are being invested in for companies. They're buying their time. And it's in these regular jobs that people have where they're making a company, and a lot of times, 10 times what that person's able to bring in. But a lot of people, they're so stuck in security, they're willing to take jobs to have consistent pay, to make less than they're able to make. Someone is investing in them. Everyone right now, for the most part, is being invested and they just don't know it. And some of it, they're being invested in, and they're being invested in, I'll pay you the money, you perform these tasks, but they're not investing in being developed as a human being. And unfortunately for those people and for those companies, I have this fear that if you don't invest in your people and make them a better human being at the end of the day, they're going to stay and you're going to be stuck with them. And you want to go ahead and invest in people that make you better. I think one of the biggest challenges right now that all businesses, they're kind of facing and they're going to be facing more of is retention. We built the profit share component in Cyberbacker because I had people say to me, Jake, they said, I want to be able to retire. How do I get there? How do I get retirement? How do I get passive residual income? Will you sell me a portion of the company? Well, so we went ahead and copied almost exact wonderful profit sharing model. And that's how we have profit sharing. It's a 5-year vesting period. They get it the rest of their life. And then we also went ahead and said, okay, what other goals do I have to invest in helping you hit so you can help me achieve mine? And we had people saying, I want to buy a house. I want to buy a car. And we created this thing called Cyber Capital, where we loan them money to buy houses and we loan them money to buy cars, because believe it or not, when you work virtually in the United States, some banks are a little hesitant to give you money because that sounds different. We're not familiar with that. So we loan them the money to do that. And then we profit share the interest, because you have a hard time leaving a company where you have a vesting period where you can retire, where they're going to loan you money to buy a house. They're going to loan you money to buy a car. You're going to profit share their interest. Plus we've got health benefits. And when you just look at those components put in, that's a great retention piece, because hiring somebody is not as hard as keeping them.
Oh, that's a brilliant point. It's absolutely true. And you made another great point, Craig, of a lot of times we think as business owners, the worst thing that could happen is if my people quit and leave me. It's not true. You made the point exactly of the worst thing that can happen is I don't invest in my people. I get somebody that's not happy and underperforming that stays, right? And stays in that role. And again, that rolls right back to quality of candidates and quality of people and the people that want to come in and grow. I know I'm looking right at Johan's face right now, because I see his face all the time. He's the head of growth for me in Colorado and Wyoming. And one of his big whys in the world follows this path. It's creating more wealth and more abundance and more jobs and more opportunities for his fellow countrymen. It's what drives him, right? It's what keeps him running. It's one of the reasons we're in alignment together, is moving forward with that way, is this creation of more abundance in others' worlds. The more people we help, the quicker we get what we want.
Absolutely. Johan and I've known him for a quick minute. The thing that's exciting about him is just what he does is his investment to perfecting his skill and his craft. He sent me several messages saying, how do I do this? How do I do this? By the way, here's some of the people I look up to. Here's that they admire. What do you think about them? What do you think about this? And he's constantly asking for feedback to become better. That's what talent looks like. Talent, they push you. They go ahead. They're not going to work with someone that they're saying, I'm growing faster than you, I'm outpacing you, you've hit your ceiling in life, and I'm still growing, they'll say, see you later. They want to work with people that make them a better human being at the end of the day. And if you're not becoming a better human being yourself, you're gonna have a hard time helping someone else be a better human.
Well, and there you go. So, right, we talked about investing in talent. So there's investing in yourself, right? How do we as business owners, talk to me a little bit about this, Craig. How do we as business owners really invest in ourselves so that we can best support our people, our cyberbackers, our talent? How can we help them push us?
Well, first thing is write your give up list. And your give up list is the stuff that you need to stop doing because it's counterproductive. It's not the best return on your investment of time. That's the first thing you've got to do. And the reason that you've got to start right there is because if you cannot maximize your own return on investment of your own time, you cannot maximize the return investment of somebody else's time. And so starting with the tasks that are, and this I totally stole out of 4 Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss, fantastic book. The first thing you're going to start with is, will I enjoy this task? Whatever it is, I'll enjoy it, and I'm going to look at, yes, I'll enjoy it, and maybe add, will I follow through with it? Because there's some stuff that I would enjoy, but I'm totally not going to follow through. And if I enjoy the task and I'm committed to following through, then I'm going to go ahead and put it on my schedule. And I'm going to make sure I do that. The next one is it income generating? And income generating goes 2 ways. If yes, it is income generating, I'm going to ask the question, can it be outsourced? Can someone else do it? And if it can, then I'm going to probably have to do that. And if it's income generating, but I have to be the one to do it, believe it or not, Inman didn't want me to send a cyberbacker to talk on a panel, but I would have loved to have done that. But it's right. Income generating. I have to do it. Well, then it's going to go on your calendar. It's going to go on your schedule. The next is, if I won't enjoy it, it's not income generating. Is it an obligation? I know in a lot of businesses, we have like transactions that they have to be documented. I know for me, one of the most boring things in the world is bookkeeping. However, I know it's critical. It's only like oxygen to a business. Breathing's important, and so is managing your money. That's an obligation. Well, that same question, can it be done by somebody else? By the way, I found better bookkeepers out of the Philippines than I found in the US. I've been looking pretty hard. It's not because they don't exist in the US. It's because those suckers are locked down. They love security. They stay in a great job. But finding a great bookkeeper is tough. And it's an obligation, and it's something I was able to do. And if it is not something you'll enjoy or you won't follow through with, if it's not income generating, if it's not an obligation, you probably need to eliminate it because it's not benefiting, it's not serving you. And what happens is, if you take those different tasks and you put a dollar amount to them, I told you about answering my phone is basically a $7.25, because that was minimum wage when I looked, task. And I can have somebody else do that. And responding to text messages, responding to emails, filtering those, like that's one of my absolute favorite things to have done for me. And being able to go ahead and say, where I am most valuable is hitting these key things. And so I'm going to do these things that are the most valuable and highest and best use of my own personal time. Then you're getting the best return on investment of your time. Now that you've taken the things that are, and I'm going to say, start with the easiest, least expensive, easiest to train, least expensive. If you're experimenting with leverage, that's where you experiment. People go ahead and I'm going to hire a full stack web developer for my first hire ever in my life. You're setting yourself up for failure. But if you're just hiring someone to go through your email, answer your phone, manage your communication, build a database, go through all your Facebook friends, put them on a spreadsheet, find their birthdays, find their phone numbers, find their addresses, and start setting up communication. Those are easy things to do. They don't cost a lot, and you don't have to do them. Once you're able to start doing those things, though, that's when life starts to begin to change, because you're able to get more out of yourself. And I see people make the mistake, Jake, that they'll go ahead, they'll hire great leverage, and it's like they stop working and they increase their spending because like, it's getting done and I don't have to do it. And they stop working, and it does okay. Because I mean, yes, you can do that. However, you're not fully tapping yourself. You're not being the best you can be, and you're missing out on some wonderful opportunities there. So maximizing your own return on investment, then helping others do the same. That's key. Yeah.
And it totally gets you there. And you made, there's so many great points that come out of this, right? It's like, okay, which one do you grab and which one do we run with? Because they're all, I mean, it's really great stuff. As you're looking at as your leveraged life, right? Because you are highly leveraged, and that's where it started. This started as I need a backer for my coaching business, and that's where you started building this. With your highly leveraged life, like what's the thing you're looking at next within creation, because you have the time and you're still focused on what gives you the 20%, your highest and best use of your time. What's the thing you're looking at next?
There's a couple different things. So I mentioned like having someone explore a little book adventure, putting that together with my son. So I'm looking at that right now. The other thing I'm looking at, and this is just kind of we'll just say forecasting thing. Right now, if you look at what the average person, according to the gross national income per capita, you can look it up on Wikipedia, what the average person makes in the US is $65,000 a year, according to that. Average in the Philippines is less than $3,800. Average on planet Earth is less than $13,000 a year in US dollars that the average person makes. Some jobs are going to get wiped out by artificial intelligence everywhere. Some are going to get wiped out by actual intelligence because there's someone else on the planet that was extremely intelligent and able to do that. So where am I looking for myself? Well, the next big thing is, as we segment, we go into other businesses, I'm looking at best practices. Like, what's the absolute best way for an insurance agency to operate? What's the absolute best possible way for a solar company to operate? What tasks can be leveraged? What tasks will be taken over by AI in less than 10 years? And I enjoy spending time in there because it kind of tickles my own brain. And I love kind of a tech geek. I mentioned computer science background, but just looking at people, and sometimes it's kind of sad because their cheese is being moved, kind of like that book, and they don't even see it. And they're so stuck in traditional ways. I'm going to tell you what, if you're in real estate and you're committed to the paper MLS, you can stay committed. You resisted the internet, you resisted change. Starting at the year 2000, life wasn't very kind to you. And right now, if you still exist on this paper MLS, bless you and, curse you for the trees you're killing. But change is inevitable, and it's not the smartest or strongest who survive, but those that adapt quickest to change. So what am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to sitting down, having conversations with people about their industry and what their business looks like in 5 to 10 years. And some industries, I gotta tell you, I think they're going to be obsoleted. And that's kind of a scary thing. You look at the Uber driver. Uber wants self-driving cars. You guys have probably heard about that. Imagine that a driver is going to be obsoleted. That's insane. But it's kind of a fun thing to do to your brain.
Yeah, and because we didn't see, you can go back to the Netflix analogy with that, right? You can go back to Blockbuster. At the time, everybody thought Blockbuster was the thing. There was a clear system. On Friday night, you wanted a movie, you got in the car, you drove to a building, you perused through these shelves of stuff, you picked 2 or 3, walked up to the counter, went home to watch them. And Netflix came out and they had the original mail-in DVD thing, right? You had to just make your list and they'd send them back and forth. And then they changed to the streaming platform, and Blockbuster went away. It just went away. And so that's where that transition is. So if somebody's going to look at something and go, oh, that'll never happen, Craig, you'll never get rid of the true driver because of that. You look at the examples. History is telling us it can happen. How do we adapt? How do we continue being progressive in that regard? Totally true. And that's where we look at with this, is we look at those other industries. We're looking at those because there's everything in real estate has been done once. It's been done awesome. How do we do it better? Same is true of other industries.
Well, you look at, what did Netflix do really well? They start copying HBO. Where they really beat Netflix is as soon as they start having original content. And now original content, Amazon has original content, Hulu has original content. Because to stay in the game of streaming right now, you have to have original content. They can't get anywhere else. So you'll take just small businesses competing with local businesses or big business. I've been to the Philippines several times. We've gone to areas with large call centers. AT&T has a large staff in the Philippines. I know several people have worked there. Capital One, they have people in the Philippines. Big companies are already doing it, and they've been doing it for several years, and they're replacing it with AI. But starting pay, I have someone, they told me when they went to work in the call center, and I won't name the company, starting pay was $240 a month. They were not very loyal with that job, and they didn't do a very good job at that pay. But $240 US a month, I'm going, oh my gosh. Oh, and by the way, it was with travel and everything. You were out of the house 14 hours a day. And so big businesses are already doing this. This is not new. I didn't invent it. So We're just making it more accessible.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? More accessible. So how, from a confidence standpoint, right? If I'm a business owner, because I've been down this road, I know what it took. I had to be in such pain is where I had to go with it before I was willing to hire somebody. And I was fortunate. I was ready to hire by emergency, right? Warm body, fill the seat, run my database stuff. And luckily, we were partners with Cyberbacker, so I was able to go through that, was able to hire an amazing assistant right out of the gate. I want to say I got lucky with that, but the reality is the hiring process was such that it was going to drive that best talent to me, whether I wanted it or not. So I was a right decision. So how do we get past this pain point as business owners? How do we have that conversation such that we hire when it's appropriate, not when it's an emergency?
Yeah, it's hiring by your budget and not your emotions. And when I say hiring by your budget, at some point you have to look at and say, here's what I've allocated for hiring people. And if you're not making that allocation, you're in trouble, because people say they have a business, but if they take 3 months off, it doesn't exist anymore. And if you can't take 3 months off, you don't have a business, you have a job disguised as a business. Mm-hmm. And one of the amazing things is if you can take 3 months off and it comes back and it does better, well, you're a fantastic business owner. Congratulations. That's what you're looking for. But first you set aside time for your budgeting, and then you identify, how do I get more of my own time back? Here's my budget. What can I hire to have done that I never have to touch again? And letting your budget do your hiring consistently is going to be your key, because you look at what causes this to fail. It's when you're in emergency mode, you have your cyberbacker, you're frustrated, you're stressed out, you don't know how you're going to pay the bills, you didn't budget for it, and now you're in chaos. When you go ahead though and you're budgeting, you're like, okay, money's allocated, we are set to go. You're paying someone, you're hiring somebody. It's a smooth transition, it's a smooth process. And once they're in and going, if your budget says it's time to hire, it's time to hire again. And your goal is to put yourself out of business. If you're going to be the business owner, if you just want to be very successful at your job, it's a whole different strategy, strategy. But I'm going to tell you, most of what we do, we design for business owners. But if you just want to be really good at your job, that's okay too. You just go ahead and say, what's my number one activity that pays me the most? And everything else, I'm going to scale it down to what pays me the least. I'm going to start at pays me the least, and I'm going to start crossing off everything until I get to the top. And I'm going to keep the top activity for myself, the one that pays the most. That's how I just be really good at leveraging my job.
Yeah. And you make a great point there, right? There's two things. There's a job and there's a business. And we know that they're different. And really the easy definition is, if I own a business, I can leave and it keeps running. It keeps producing revenue. I can come back to it and check on it. And I can come back to it and I can work in it. If I have a job and I leave, unless I have vacation pay that I'm paying myself indefinitely, not much is happening while I'm gone, right? So that's the difference between owning one and the other. I was going to mention earlier, you were talking about the graph and the breakdown of tasks, right? The orientation of that. We've got a great graphic for that. And it's in a class called Double Your Production. We've recorded that. You can see it every other Friday opposite of these conversations. We've got that comes out. So if you want to take a look at it, register for that webinar and take a look at that graphic. It's a great graphic. My favorite one on the bottom is eliminate the task, right? Not task for task's sake, because I just think I need to do it for fun. So I love that position. So let's kind of wrap this out. Let's talk. We talked about a lot of stuff today. If you were going to impart like the official Craig Goodliffe wisdom on the world, like the best thing you could possibly tell everybody, what would it be?
Hire someone better than you at pretty much everything. I mean, and this is like not just get a cyberbacker, but like, I know I'm not the best cook in the world. I'm not the healthiest cook in the world. I know how to work a microwave. I've found someone great who will go ahead, come to my office. I pay $115 a week and she'll put breakfast and lunch in the fridge at the office. Like, that's a great source of leverage. I looked at what it costs someone to clean like my house versus what it would be for me to clean the house. For me, it's going to be all weekend and a lot of frustration. Having somebody else do it, it's the same thing. And just start taking the stuff that right now you're saying that's not the highest and best use of my time, and hiring out it to somebody better. And knowing what you are the best at, knowing your skill set, knowing yourself to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be hard pressed to find someone as good as me. And that's not a arrogant statement. That's a because you've put in the time. You're 10,000 hours. You're on your way to your 10,000 hours in a specific skill. That's when you go ahead, You say, that's my task, and you're not going to take it away from me until you're better. But these other tasks, they can be done by something else. And I'm going to say, when you talk about a leveraged life, there's got to be a mentor in different areas of your life, someone you're following so you can be better, so you can level up your thinking and who you are. And there also has to be someone supporting. And you're going to need that support in almost every area. It's okay to ask for help. And people, when you talk about investing in people, that's where they get hung up. Well, I know I can pay someone to clean the house, but I'll just do it myself. In other words, I know I could choose to make more money, but I'm going to choose to make less. And they undervalue. So, I mean, you're worth it. You're valuable. Value yourself enough to go ahead and hire things out that you have no business doing, or you're not the best at, or you don't want to.
And that's really it, man. It's value yourself. It's value yourself. I absolutely agree with that. So, Craig, I'm so grateful you spent the time with us today. And as always, it's a ton of fun. It's a lot of energy, which I love. Some like great stuff. Everybody, and Johan threw in the chat box, everybody that wants to go ahead and sign up for a business evaluation, he'd love to take care of you today. If you happen to not live in Colorado and Wyoming today, like you're in Alaska, Mark has one as well, but Johan can direct you. And if you're living somewhere that you jumped in on this page and you're elsewhere, we'll make sure you get routed to the right place and you talk to the right people. Craig, thank you again to everybody on the launch team, everybody. Grateful for you today. Thank you so much. It's been amazing.